Don't forget to click the join button, and for 99 cents per month, you can help grow the channel. Now sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, my name is Teresita Blanco, the Artsy sister, and today I'm doing an art blog about five portrait painters that you should know. The first one on the shopping blog is Franz Sander Winterhalter. He painted in like the 1800s, and he's one of the few painters that like became a millionaire just for making super amazing portraits, just like this one that he did of the Queen Olga from Rattenberg. Well, there used to be a lot more kings and queens by then, before like the French Revolution got a hold of it. But during his time, like the Academy painters, they were constantly hating on him and like calling his work trash because he wasn't painting what they were considered paint worthy, if it was to do historical paintings, mythology, etc. But then again, canonically speaking, the French Academy of Arts in the 1800s was they were awful people, and like the impressionists said that they were awful, and they were even awful to people just that even painted what they consider well, because they didn't like the subject matter. They'd be like, oh, how dare you just do paintings of people, and then he'd be like, I'm doing paintings of people because portraits because they pay me money and I'm living well, very well off of them. But I think they were just dissing on his artwork because they were jealous that he was becoming rich, a rich core painter, and they were not. Like this one is Portrait of the Prince de Bergen and Macy Louise Caroline Napoleon. So then, like, it's very rare, very unusual, because normally when they show little girls, they usually put them with their mother, and it's cute that this time it was a father with his daughter on a painting. And then here's a dog also looking at the little girl. So the entire painting is so focused on the daughter. So then it's like, she's that. It tells you just how much she likes his daughter, daddy's little girl. Because he made certain that for everyone to know that the one who's important, I may be a prince, but the one who's important is the little princess. Is my little princess, my cute little daughter. She's the important one. This one is Prince Alfred and Princess Helena, 1849. So this time that he chose to paint the children in a more innocent fashion, and they even had the little princess trying to reach for like a feather. And the princess looking directly at you, and like it's funny that he has like a little skirt, and he must be like, I'm not too familiar with like all of the princes that show up in this painting, because literally all of his paintings were of the aristocracy, prince and nobles, etc. But he might be Scottish because of the skirt. And this one is his most famous portrait, the Empress Eugene surrounded by her ladies in waiting, 1855. So yeah. Here's the Empress, which is, you can tell that it's her because she's the figure that, her head is taller than all of the other maidens. And then surrounding herself by her beautiful, fashionable ladies. So, and I like a lot like the fabrics that they're like very fancy looking and so forth. Just a very nice looking court portrait, because I think that portrait making is much harder than like regular types of painting, because when you're doing regular types of painting, unlike commission works of historical and stuff, you get like a little bit of leeway. But when you're doing a portrait of someone, they're gonna be very anal and hypercritical about it, because this is somebody's awesome looking face that you're painting, not some historical dude for like a school project or a municipality type of thing. So yeah, so then he just became famous for like rich and famous for like making like the aristocracy look awesome. And like more than rendering people's faces, like the fabrics, they just look very amazing. And here's Hélène de Mecklenburg with like her little daughter, and like the daughter's like wearing like one of those dresses that you do, like that's the type of outfit that you take the baby in order to get like baptized. And it's cute how like the mother and the daughter, their dresses, they had similar headgear, per like blue, 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 cause something white and then the rest white, but it also has something blue, cause that's just the thing. And it maintains some of the innocence of the child, because like the baby's pulling at like the ribbon of her mother's dress, cause that's totally what babies usually do. That they like to pull and grab at stuff and wreck stuff, cause that's just normal baby behavior. Not a painter, but more like but still portrait making is Andy Warhol. While other people use like while other people like did portraits with like paintings and stuff, Andy Warhol did photo manipulation and like messing around with the colors and the face of the angles of the person in order to try to render their identity. So this one is 1978 Muhammad Ali. It shows a profile, the face looking down, or just the face, because that's what he was best known for. Muhammad Ali, he was a famous boxer. So then with those four pictures, with those photo manipulated pictures, it tells you everything you need to know about Muhammad Ali. And this one is Ingrid Bergman as herself, whatever the hell that means, by 1980. And then it's like a nice classical profile picture of the maiden, and then he uses like square panels of colors a la cubist style in order to try to create a type of mood with it. It's just like people saying that you can't be artsy without knowing how to like paint and stuff, but just by doing photo manipulation and messing around with the colors, you can create works of art without having the ability to paint yourself. But I'm not saying that Andy Warhol didn't know how to paint. I'm just saying that he liked better to mess around with like the colors a la Photoshop. Because before the Photoshop was like a program, Photoshop was what was called whenever you like cut the pictures, doing it manually, photoshopping a photo. And of course, we had the infamous Marilyn Monroe Andy Warhol painting. Let me just yeah, it's still recording. The famous Marilyn Monroe painting. Here we have this over here, etc. Yeah, but just showing her in like her most famous. We had like her most famous, like she was like even on today's day and age, like Marilyn Monroe was like a famous female actress. And here's Andy Warhol's The Kiss, or Bela Lugosi. Like in this weird, unusual portrait, he used a fancy still shot of the actor Bela Lugosi about to do like the vampire and bite a chick in the neck, which was what he was most famous for, at least as far as Andy Warhol is concerned. If anything, it's an unusual portrait that I wanted to show you. And this one is Mick Jagger. He was a musician. FN? I forget. But yeah, just but as you can see, he's with different patches of color and whatnot. He's rendering this person in order to show like the different facets of it, to try to capture his character in photography format in a very creative type of fashion. Like I wanted to mention, like Andy Warhol has like a weird story that it's funny when kind of tragic that whenever like a painter gets whenever like a painter gets like an assassination attempt, like usually assassination attempts are usually done against like politicians and stuff, but somebody actually tried to murder Andy Warhol, and it was this woman that she wanted to make like a play, but Andy Warhol thought it was a trap because he said that it was way too triple X, even by his standard, and then thought that the chick was just trying to put a trap for him, for the police to come at him if he even tried to sue. And he said that he was probably gonna go to jail just for reading that. So she didn't like that creative criticism that maybe she should age up her characters and put a little bit of clothing on them. Her response to the criticism was to get a gun and shoot him, and then she shot another guy and another guy, and then she like went to jail for trying to murder the painter, and then she be like, and then she be like while in prison, oh, I wasn't trying to kill him. I just wanted to be famous so that people will read my Hyper Triple X. And then I'd be like in the Wikipedia entry, they describe her as a radical feminist, and I'd be like, what? Is there such a thing? Whatever. But like Andy Warhol had even actually paid for that, get paid that woman's rent, and had allowed her to be an actress in one of his like movies and stuff. And then I'd be like, so you're.
It was the movie Empire.
Maybe it was the movie Empire, and that's what she's like pissed about. But seriously, like somebody like took your phone and they don't wanna like pay for your creativity, quote unquote. Your reaction to there's some people that don't take criticism well, and like the woman that shot Andy Warhol is one of them. Yeah. Moving around, you know, if somebody says trash talk your word, you don't need to like get the gun and stuff. Just tell them to go to hell if you want, but you ain't gotta be bad about it. Ah, yeah, the next portrait painter that I wanted to mention is Frida Kahlo. Frida Kahlo. You cannot talk about portraits without mentioning her. So while other folks were just limited to like rendering the liveness, she would just go nuts with the background in order to like try to express how she felt about a certain situation or place. And over here, she's doing this one is a portrait along the borders between Mexico and the United States. And then it shows just her overall opinion of both places, you know. And you will see that she would like paint Mexico with like a lot of nostalgia and stuff. But here we have like somebody's skull severed head, and like the sun being very angry and stuff, while like the US is the way she paints it is hyper focusing on like the industry side of it and like all of the smoke and pollution, you know. Like it's one of those immigrant stories that she thought it would go better in the US, but it didn't. Like this one is the love embrace of Mother Earth and myself and Diego and Senor Solto. So there's like a bunch of like weird portraits. Yeah, she painted her husband Diego like a little giant baby that she's cradling. Like, yes, my man child. I love him to death. And I will remember anyone who thinks badly of my husband and his cheating way. He's my chubby husband. I love him very much. I shown by like the embrace, but you know. But it's like a very creepy way to do like somebody's portrait, and she even gave him an extra eyeball because he says inside, a la Bloodborne style. And this one is portrait of Luther Burbank, 1931, because she didn't just limit herself to just painting her self-portraits over and over again with like creepy backgrounds and weird props. She also painted other people. So here's the doctor. I think it was her doctor. I forget. And then it was like a plant, and then his roots are feeding off a little someone's corpse, presumably Frida. This one is, but sometimes her portraits are more a la simple, with just here is me and my pets and a smoke. So that's just two things that I like. So that's just two things that she likes: her parrots and smoking. Cause everyone smoked in like the early the early 20th century. Like they were ramming it like down your throat, like in the radio, in the TV and stuff, you know. And this one is the wounded deer. She painted herself as a deer that got like highlighted by arrows. And that's it for Frida. The next portrait, like the next painting that I wanted to show you is a surrealist guy, Salvador Dali. Like he's more famous for like his melted cloud, but he also painted like people, and not just in a surrealist style, but sometimes at a very hyper realistic one. But then he would make surrealist like the background over here. You see like a guy on horseback, like a dreamscape in the background and so forth. But sometimes these portrait people be like, dude, I don't want my face to look like the liquid Terminator melting. I just wanna like see myself when I look at this painting. So then that it is. Here's Salvador Dali's soft self-portrait. He painted himself like a melted egg, like that, and here's bacon on the side, cause you can't be a melted egg without having bacon on the side. So yeah, Salvador Dali basically be like, I am part of a balanced breakfast, and why I don't know. It depends why, well, whatever. It's a weird dream I had. Cause surrealism was all about like painting the subconsciousness and like the dreams and so forth. And this is Salvador Dali's Galatea, but it's called Galatea, but it's mostly but anything that says Gala in the painting is like his wife Gala that was older than him, and like she deeply respected it. So it's like, you know how there's cubism, this is spherical-ism, because the entire face and stuff is painted with like orbs. So that's an option, because whenever the people want to do like cool abstract artsy stuff, they usually do like hard edges, but you can do spheres instead, and it creates like this very cool pattern and like this crazy 3D effect right down the middle. It's just a very creative portrait of a person. And this is a self-portrait. Not a self-portrait, a portrait he did of Pablo Picasso. With like crazy Ramos, and I don't know if you can see it, but over here he has like out of the spoon has a little guitar and a flower in between his milky shed. Yeah, like he definitely brought a lot of weapon that time we went to see the painting.
I'll show you also.
I'll show you a self-portrait, and like the nose getting into like the eyeballs. So, like, yeah. As far as like self-portraits, this one is ridiculously far removed from like anything that resembles the guy. There's like a spoon coming out of his mouth. So yeah, that's something you can consider to like if you want to do like a portrait of somebody else, or admire. I don't know if this was a compliment.
It was no way to.
And he has a brick for a brain. That's why he has like a brick on top of his head. That's how they say in Spanish that he's dumb, because of the brick on the head. And now we do Pablo Picasso. Moving on. Like Picasso is like one of the most prolific artists that ever was. Like as far as his known work, he had 26,000 paintings, sculptures, etc. Like just imagine like how many artworks of art you had to do per day to reach such a ridiculous number. So like the first one I wanted to show you is a portrait that he did of Olga. I think she was his waifu. I forget, or yeah, I think it was his waifu. And then here she is in like extreme cute. It's like cubism, but also kind of chibi because it looks cute. And this is like a girl with like with her little doll, but it's also combined with the blue period because she's kind of blue, which adds to like the melancholic aspect about it, which a girl and her dolly. This one is from 100% from the blue period, 1903, and it's S. Junior Vidal with a woman beside him. And over here in the foreground, you start this classic from that absinthe, which was like a ridiculously type of. They use like absinthe in the modern days. It's listed as a type of drug in certain countries, but the fact of the matter is, it's just alcohol. The whole thing that it causes hallucinations and stuff is just negative reputation. In fact, vodka is stronger than Asinten and it's not illegal. But yeah, but you try making vodka illegal, gonna end badly, you know. But whatever. I think it's not stronger than vodka, you know. Whatever. And I'm here to tell to like advertise to promote legalizing of fintech. The better things to try to legalize. But moving along. It's yeah, it's from the Blue Period. This one is a portrait of Daniel Henry Wheeler. Somewhere in that mass of blocks is there is somebody's face. I think I can see an eyeball here and another eyeball. Like, but over here, as far as abstraction is concerned, it's like a full photo. Like, you gotta look like real close to find like the portrait of this person. Yeah, this one is it's from like it's an early portrait that Picasso did, and it's Mateo Fernandez de Soto, and it's de Soto, not de Soto. And here he is, it's like somebody like it's like a craftsman or stuff, and since it's like Picasso, not only did he make a lot of art, he also like his art changed throughout time, and you're gonna find hours of cubism, surrealism, impressionism, expressionism, post-expressionism, etc., etc. He's an artist that you cannot pigeonhole and say that he only did cubism, but he did a lot of cubism, but he also did other stuff, and not just one or two, but like a truckload, at least 200 impressionism painting. Cause he was, if anything, he was prolific. And it's funny, a funny story about like Picasso that if you try to, he doesn't like for people to try to interpret his painting, and if you were to ask him back then what his paintings meant, his response to your inquiries was to shoot you with a gun that had blanks, just to scare you. Because that was like his idea of a joke. Oh, you wanna know what this painting means? It's a bam. So in the spirit of it, don't try to interpret a Pablo Picasso painting because his ghost is gonna come out of the grave and then he's gonna shoot you. And then here's the portrait of Elmine Paz or Olga again. He had a lot of portraits of Olga. Just his various style. Like look at that weird face with like the eyeball like blending into like the head, like doing this weird like cubism stuff is like it requires like a lot of like it looks like something that you could draw, but it requires a lot of forethought, deciding what part of the face you're gonna distort and so forth. And even like the fingers are more like a la snake like. If anything, it's a Star Wars experimenting with, if anything. And over here is a more normal looking portrait of Olga again. But this time her face is even more comic book style because just the face is very slimmed down, almost a la anime or Japanese print style, and then no color whatsoever, just a nice fresh liner, which is very almost as if it's ready for you to like put color on it on Photoshop. It's just very interesting, just seeing all of the variations in like Pablo Picasso style, all the different ways that you can paint the same woman Olga. So I hope that this lesson on portraits gives you plenty to think about when you feel like doing a portrait of yourself, a family member, or a paid commission or something. Bye bye and God bless.